If you've watched any of my videos through the last year or two, you will have noticed that one of my key themes for people who aspire to become a board director is that they really put an emphasis on thought leadership, because thought leadership will really start to lift your personal brand, the number of people noticing you in the market. And I've had two really clear examples that what I'm banging on about actually does make sense and actually works in reality. So I had a client the other day who has a modest level of board seats, but really relatively modest, smaller organizations. She's got 2 or 3 on the CV, but she's really aspiring to get up into the higher profile paid commercial board seats. And so over the last 6 months, we've implemented this thought leadership strategy where she's sharing her thoughts, her knowledge, her insights into the challenges that this particular industry, where she has a lot of deep understanding and knowledge, is really sort of taking place. And so she's been consistent. She's been posting regularly on platforms like LinkedIn. She even got picked up into a couple of newsworthy channels and into journals and so on. So she effectively has become published in the last 6 months. And on the back of the last article, she was contacted by a chair who saw that article and said, you're 100% correct what's going on in the industry. I'd love to have a coffee with you. So the article led directly to a coffee with the chair in her industry. Then at that meeting, they got on extremely well, and the chair recommended her for a board appointment that he was aware of in his network, and he actually endorsed her and helped facilitate sending the resume across to the board and facilitated a private business introduction between the parties. And that is just absolute proof that, if you want to kind of play the game a little bit differently in the year ahead, you've got to think about some hacks that are going to make you stand out from the crowd and be showing up on these platforms. The other piece of feedback I had was from another client who had been trying to execute an executive career move, and again had been publishing on the platforms. It helped her keep in touch with all of the executive search firms, which was fabulous because she was enabling her ability to stay top of mind, which is really crucial when you're trying to change jobs. You're in between gigs and you're off the reservation, so to speak. And you're really trying to stay top of mind so that the headhunters keep coming back to you and presenting you with relevant opportunities. So the thought leadership was working extremely well for that. And constantly when she's out talking to her network, the network is saying, "Oh, I've read that article. That was a great piece that you just recently wrote." So even though she sometimes wasn't getting incredible traction on the platforms, she's getting the anecdotal feedback that the thought leadership strategy is working. It's keeping her top of mind. And she literally in the last 2 weeks just secured an incredible contract, which now will take her through for the next 24 months. And it's a stellar opportunity. And it all came through because she was keeping really current, not resting on the laurels, not sitting at home, waiting for the phone to ring, really being active on these platforms. So it's absolute proof. Now, I get some hesitation from some clients who don't like to put themselves out there, and they're worried about, am I going to be authentic? And they procrastinate, and they have to think for 3 weeks before they even put a single piece of media out on the platforms. Look, I'm sorry, if you're going to play that game, you're really going to struggle and you're going to miss this window of opportunity, because a lot of people will catch on to this in due course. But there is a window here where, as an aspiring board director, you can separate from the competition. And I just did a previous video on how much the competition has increased. So you must think of something along these lines to really start to lift your personal brand. Be frank with yourself. Most of you, if you're an aspiring board director, have a reputation in a very narrow field within maybe your own industry, maybe even within your own company and the adjacent enterprises. So if you aspire to serve on boards, you've got to come to the table with a profile. And this is the only way I can think of effectively to build a profile quickly in a really timely manner and to actually gain the traction with the people that are really important to your board search. So it's something to consider for 25. What is your thought leadership strategy going to be? How are you going to stand out from the crowd? How are you going to show up in your business networking circles to make a lasting impression that's really going to make a meaningful difference?